Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1290A, and today's date is May 26, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Push is On, Free Money for Everyone as the System Breaks Down. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, as we can see, people are watching the economy, they're watching the stock market. Many individuals are scratching their head, wondering what is really going on here. And many people are not really believing anymore that the economy is doing well, especially those individuals that have lost their job, especially in retail and in many corporations, where they're hearing rumors that there's going to be layoffs, where the company might be contracting, where they'll be closing plants or they'll be closing offices. And people are very nervous. And the UMich confidence shows that, well, people are looking at the situation and the sentiment, well, that's declining, which is very interesting because consumer expectation is rising and current economic conditions is probably holding steady in the middle. So what we're seeing is that this survey is going in all different directions right now because there is such a big mix-up and such confusion in the economy right now that people don't understand what's keeping the stock market up, how the economy is doing well if all these stores are closing, how the economy is doing well if only 8% of retail is going to online, how housing, well, what's going on with that because I put my house up for sale and I can't sell it. The traffic has dried up, and I noticed around where I live, there's many houses for sale right now, and there is no foot traffic to these homes. Actually, I was speaking to a realtor the other day, and they're saying for some odd reason during this period where it's supposed to be very, very busy, traffic, people contacting them, well, it has decreased quite a bit. And again, we're not going to see this in every part of the country because it takes time to spread. But we are seeing it in many different areas like Manhattan. We're seeing it in San Francisco. Now, San Francisco, home prices, they have turned negative for the first time since 2011. They declined by 2.5% in the first quarter. And what we're seeing is that a growing number of individuals, 46% in fact, said they could no longer stand to live in the preeminent American safe space of San Francisco, primarily because the rent was just too high. And the prices for purchasing a home, it was just too expensive. And people are trying to get out of that area. We also see many other economic indicators showing us that the economy is continually declining. Now remember, the central bank, the deep state, they're going to continually try to make it look like the economy is doing well right now, because they have the ability to manipulate everything. And everything that we've been looking at, the VIX now, we've been looking at the stock market, the bonds, the bond market, the home real estate market, the retail market, they have the ability to manipulate it and make it look like the economy is doing well, even though we delve deep into the numbers and we can see that this is not the fact whatsoever. Core durable goods right now, well, new orders, they plunged in April. Remember, these are like washers, dryers, a one-time big purchase, and people are not going out and purchasing these type of items. Now, they've dropped by 0.7%, and new orders fell by 0.4%. So we're seeing many economic indicators, and they're all headed to the downside right now. Now, what's very interesting is that the first quarter GDP, and we knew this was coming, it was revised from 0.7% to 1.2%, because what they're going to do at this point is they're going to try to bring that second quarter GDP number much higher to make it look like the economy is doing much better than it really is. This is why the Fed was out there saying that the first quarter was an anomaly. They're going to go back and, like we're seeing, they revised the number, and they're saying, oh, well, the economy is not as bad as it seems. It is getting better. Don't worry about it. Things are just fine. And they're trying to convince everyone that, listen, everything that the central bank has done, all the money printing and everything like that, has basically helped the economy out. It has recovered, and the economy now is picking up steam, which we know is a complete lie. Remember, these numbers, first of all, are the manipulated numbers. The actual GDP number is around negative 6%. And even the revised number, that was based off of business investment, housing investment, consumer spending, and they manipulated those numbers to push the GDP number up, and they got this new number. And they do this all the time. They did it all throughout Obama's presidency, trying to bring this number up to make it look a lot better than it really is. And they do as much as they possibly can, but they can never reach that 3%. Actually, this didn't even reach 2% this time. I'm sure the second quarter is going to reach 2%, and you're going to see the Fed raise the interest rates. But we know behind the scenes, the economy, well, it's completely falling apart, and it's getting worse and worse as time goes on. It's almost like the unemployment numbers. Do you really believe that unemployment is at 4.4%? Completely impossible. With all the retail stores closing, with corporations laying off, everyone is just still working. It makes no sense. But certain states right now, they realize that the economy is rapidly falling apart, and they realize when the system collapses, and everyone needs to realize this, these paper dollars, the Federal Reserve notes, they're going to disappear. And they're going to be worth absolutely nothing. And we know that Arizona right now, they had this bill which was going to repeal the state capital gains tax on gold and silver. And Monday, Governor Doug Ducey signed a bill into law that eliminates state capital gain taxes on gold and silver. And it's a tax repeal will not only benefit Arizonians who invest in gold and silver, it will also facilitate their use as currency and undermine the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money. In effect, the passage into law will legalize the Constitution by treating gold and silver as money. Ron Paul traveled to Arizona and testified on its behalf. We ought not to tax money, and that's a good idea. It makes no sense to tax money, he said. Paper is not money, it's fraud. So right now in Arizona, all debts and taxes must be paid with either the Federal Reserve note, authorized as legal tender by the Congress, or with coins issued by the U.S. Treasury, and we know that they don't have any silver or gold within the coins. The United States Constitution states in Article 1, Section 10, no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debts. The Arizona law takes a step towards the constitutional requirement, ignored for many, many decades in every state. Such a tactic would undermine the monopoly of the Federal Reserve by introducing competition into the monetary system. Over time, as residents of the state use both Federal Reserve notes and silver and gold, guess what happens to the Federal Reserve note? Well, it loses its value, and people will stop using the Federal Reserve note because gold and silver will retain its value, as it has done over thousands and thousands of years. And eventually, people will no longer even use the Federal Reserve note. This is what the central bank is so worried about. And we can see there are many other states that are pushing the same exact laws. And to me, when you look at this, these states, they are preparing for the collapse of the system because they will be ready to handle the next system. Now, Mark Zuckerberg, he was out there, he was giving a speech to Harvard graduates, and he said in his speech, we should have a society that measures progress not by economic metrics like GDP, but by how many of us have a role we find meaningful. We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure everyone has a cushion to try new ideas. Now, what he's pushing right now, and of course he's the mouthpiece of the deep state, same thing with Bill Gates, is he wants everyone to receive income from the government, which the government is then going to get it from the central bank, which means everyone is going to get a paycheck from the government. Now, the question is, first of all, where's this coming from? Well, it's coming from those individuals that are working. It's coming from their taxes. It's coming from borrowed money with interest attached on it. This is not free money that could be handed out. Someone eventually has to pay for it. And we already have a $20 trillion debt. Actually, the debt is really much, much higher than that. It's around 200 trillion or so. But this proposal is going to look really good to a lot of people at first glance, because people say, whoa, you're going to give me money and I can just sit at home? Yes, this is what I want to do. So what Zuckerberg is trying to say is that if you receive this free money from the government and you are able to have this money, you can then sit at home and you'll have the free time to think of all these new ideas and start these businesses, because you don't have to be worried about supporting your family. You don't have to worry about working, and we'll just come up with all these new ideas. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the opposite is going to happen. People are going to say, why do I have to do anything? I'm getting this free money. I'm not coming up with any new ideas. First of all, it's not going to be enough money to actually push your idea out there. Second of all, many people are going to say, you know what? Why get a job? Why even think of anything? I'll just sit at home, use this money. I'll go out and buy things. I'll spend my time maybe playing games all day long. And that's the reality of it. Now, think about this for a second. Why is someone worth $62 billion complaining about inequality? Why is the world's sixth richest man lecturing the public on the wealth gap and floating ideas like the government spreading our wealth around while hoarding his own? In 2015, Mark Zuckerberg claimed he would give his entire fortune away to charity in his lifetime, and promptly formed an LLC for that purpose, as opposed to, a charity. This means that instead of using his money to help people, he can spend that money on lobbying politicians in Washington to use your money to help people. See how generous these type of people are with everyone else's money? Now, he's a very wealthy man. Why doesn't he do the following? He could give away hundreds of thousands of free expensive college educations without his net worth dropping by 2%. He could provide a $12,000 grant to 1.7 million people if he actually cares about giving them a chance to try new ideas, and still have $42 billion left for a rainy day. If he is also concerned about people having a cushion to fall back on, why not start a charity that gives free room and board to anyone who wants to come and explore their options for meaningful employment, like an internship? Now, the reason why this is being pushed out there, and you're going to see the corporate media continually push this out there to convince everyone that this is the right thing to do, is because the system is breaking down. This is hush money. Because take away all the entitlements, take away food stamps, take away everything. As the system breaks down and there's not enough jobs out there because the system was not designed to create jobs. The system was not designed to give an even playing field. The system was designed to transfer the wealth up to the 1%. This money is being used to keep people quiet as the system breaks down. That's the purpose of this. And what they're hoping that will occur is that people will take this money, they'll stay quiet in their home, and they'll go out and they'll put it into retail to keep everything operational. But what happens is, yes, this will work right in the beginning. But as time goes on and more of this money is put out there, and people maybe are saving the money instead of going out and purchasing things, the debt gets larger, the interest on the debt gets larger, and they might even have to lower the interest rates. And what happens is there are no tax receipts coming in. They're very tiny, and they can't pay for the debt, and the system starts to break down. This experiment has been used in other countries, and it has failed every single time. But of course, when the system's breaking down, what else do? They need to do something because they want to restart the system the way they had it before, where they can wipe out pretty much all the debt. They can start printing the money once again, attached to interest, and if they can keep everyone quiet, it works in their favor. Now, China, they have been using the FIAT system to build roads, bridges, buildings, empty cities. They've been spending it like crazy. And a lot of people saying, well, China's ridiculous. I can't believe they're doing this. Think about what they're doing right now, and think about what you would do. You know the FIAT system is going to come to an end. You know that this system was created by the deep state, the central banks. And you know once it goes away, well, pretty much all the debt's going to disappear. The whole system is going to be restarted, one way or another. And you have all this FIAT money. Build and spend as much as you possibly can until the system comes to an end. Now, while you're doing this, buy as much gold as you possibly can to hedge against everything that you're doing. Because once the fiat system goes down, well, all your cities were built on phony money. And the gold that you've been acquiring all this time, well, guess what? It allows your system to continually operate. And this is exactly what China has done. Actually, not just China, other countries have done this in the same way. And Russia has been acquiring gold. China has been acquiring gold. India has been acquiring gold. And many other countries have been doing the same because they understand the system is going to come down. Why don't we use the system right now to our benefit? And this is what they've been doing. Just like the wealthy, they've been acquiring not the paper money. They've been using the fake paper money to get real assets. Gold, silver, land, ports, you name it. That's what they've been doing. And you need to do the same. You need to prepare yourself for what is coming. And we can see we are getting closer and closer because now they're pushing out the universal basic income card. And that tells us we are one step closer to a complete disaster. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.